Today I speak with Harshil Karia. He is the founder of Schbang, one of the top marketing agencies in India. The more intriguing side to him is his new venture, Level SuperMind, that has a goal to make meditation more cool and accessible. We spoke about how he discovered his strengths and shared a great tip for you to discover yours. He shared how his meditation practice helped him get over his addiction. He also shared his deep need to contribute and give back to society. And the best part was when we chatted about the various features of Level Supermind and how he wants it to become a gateway to all meditation practices for people around the world. Enjoy listening to the episode, and I hope it inspires you to start your inner journey today. Keep meditating. So I just wanted to say welcome, Harshil. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on Pragyaan.
Yes, I'm so excited to have experience on Pragyaan. What a cool name.
Yeah, it as you know, it's a spin-off on my name, and it was something.
Is that what your friends have always called you? Pragyani?
No, they've made a lot of fun of me or saying बहुत ज्ञान बांटती है, तो ऐसा है शुरू
So you
में.
added it.
So I was like, जब I already have that image, then why not? Why not now thrive on it, then to hide away from it? But I think it's just something I felt also aligned with what Pragyaan or what I really wanted to do through this podcast, which is just talk a little bit about, intuition and wisdom and inner journey and inner transformation. So I think it was a combination.
Is
of
Pragyaan an
things.
actual word?
Yes, it does mean wisdom. It means so even in
And
the
Pragya
Gita,
means?
Pragya means spiritual wisdom. So it's similar. It's a more Sanskrit version of Pragya. Pragya is the more English version, you can say. Right? South India, they'll call me Pragnya. I was there for 6 years, sorry. So there they would always call me Pragnya, which is closer to the Sanskrit version. And yeah, you also have a state in the Gita which talks about Sthit Pragnya.
Sthit Pragya, yeah.
Yeah, which is the stillness and just being very calm on the inside. And so I think it aligned in many ways.
Yeah, cool. And it's a cool intro also. So,
Yes. So we've not interacted too much, but the little bit that we have, you come across as extremely thoughtful and very deliberate in the choices that you make or have been making in your life. And I think I find that very intriguing in many ways. So just to kick this off, I really want to understand from you that if you were to think back in your life, you always have those, I would say, crucial moments in life as you look back in the rear view mirror, so to say, where you really converted those struggles into meaningful opportunities for yourself, or also what defined you to who you are today.
So I would say first is, for me in the 12th standard, I received an award. And normally I don't really keep too much memory of awards, etc. But that was important because the award was award called a Lifetime Learner Award. So that meant a lot to me.
Yes.
That my faculty and my peers felt that I should get that. That meant that, there was this sense of curiosity towards wanting to learn new things. So that was very important. It was a marker for me. It like kind of etched it in me, saying that, look, that's got to be the, the focus of your life going forward. You keep learning. So I think that was one.
Very important value. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really good. And then I got out of the 12th standard, and I think that was another pivotal point because I was in the first batch of students in India from the IB program, which is now quite prevalent.
Yeah.
But 2005 was a time when you got out of the IB program. It was very few schools were there, and Indian universities were not accepting your grades from the IB program.
Oh, how painful.
And I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. So I had got into a course in the UK on environmental economics. And it was actually the only thing that I had really gotten into. I hadn't done my SATs.
Okay.
And, it was like fashionable in my school to go abroad.
Sure.
I was talking to my parents and they were like, I said, I don't know what I want to do. And they said, if you don't know what you want to do, then why do you want to spend so much money going outside the country and then spending on the course and accommodation and everything? So then I started, it was luck that I applied for the communications course in Mumbai University, BMM. So it was that the college said that, look, we'll evaluate you if you do really well in that exam. So I
Okay.
think some 4,000 odd people give that exam. For like luck, I came third in that exam. So I was like, okay, that means I'm really somewhere good at this, communication related stuff.
Sure.
So then I went into a communication course, and that's when I had my first stint with advertising. So I started to understand marketing and advertising a bit more. I always, otherwise I would have picked a management
Right.
related.
That's the typical path.
Yeah. So then I started getting into communication and advertising, and I did 3 different internships, all giving me 3 varying views of communication and advertising. And so I was like, my college was mainly morning college. So I used to finish my morning college and then do the internships from 12 to 8 or whatever. So every 3 years
Very
I did that.
enterprising of you. Yeah.
And so I was doing that, and the only time I would take a break is when the cultural programs were there. So like in Bombay, you have like Malhar or Kaleidoscope or whatever, the big college festivals.
Right.
So that was the time when you really got to understand that. A lot of that made it. And and I got out and I was like, I want to give this a shot. My last internship was I was blogging.
Oh.
So it was a website called whatblog.com. And that's when you had Nikhil Pawar doing Content Sutra, and Media Nama had just about started. So we were like, I used to follow Nikhil. I used to be writing. I was the annoying intern who was on the other side, writing about the same things that he's writing. So we used to tweet and things like that. But
yeah, he's a good friend. I know him well. Yeah.
So I was from that same cloth early days, and then I saw that, okay, this social media is like kind of starting to boom, etc., and it might be a new way of marketing. So I said, I'll just set up a company in that domain. So out of college, what do I have to lose? My salary offered was about $16,000 at the time.
Okay.
So I said, okay, if I lose $16,000, I'm okay to lose it.
That's the opportunity
The
cost.
opportunity cost is very low.
Sure.
Let's do it. And did it. And that's when I set up my first company. And that it was 3 more guys who were, they had just about started it. Yeah, they just about started it. And they were saying, look, we'll print t-shirts and we'll, do some brochures and everything. I said, guys, leave all this. This is not the right thing to do. We have to go this direction. And that's when the first company set up. I did that for about 6.5 years, and I realized that my path is not with them. So I kind of said that, I'm getting out. And I left, and then I set up my second company, Schbang, which is what I run also today.
Just tell me one thing. When you say that you stepped back because your paths weren't sort of aligning, is it also to do with you felt like your values were different suddenly after 6 years, or was it just simply that the vision for the company was different?
I think values and vision both.
Yeah.
So values, and then values is something that you actually, the fructification of what your values are only shows at the end of your life.
Very true.
So one can keep talking about it, but values is something you keep internalizing every single day, and then you purposefully act. And then over a course of 40, 50 years, somebody can see that, okay, these values have led to this. Otherwise, it's empty talk.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I felt like where the values were not fully aligning with me. And I said that, I would do it another way. And often when you're, working in a partnership, you need to have a push up culture versus a push down. So, I did have a few weaknesses which I worked on. My weaknesses I was not a very good negotiator. I was, soft with people in the sense that, like, if I have a soft corner with somebody, I'll give them I was okay to give people a chance.
Sure.
If they were soft. So, like, those things I need to strengthen rather than be made, kind of like fun of in that sense. So that wasn't aligning with me, as I want to work with a set of people who are going to strengthen what I am.
Sure.
And is able to then push you up. So then that's when I left. Also, the vision for the company, there was a discussion to sell the company, and I still think that the business that I'm in of communication and IT and technology and marketing, that fusion, I think there's a big space for it to grow independently.
Sure.
So that's when I went and set up Schbang. So that was my second, so the first instance was around this first company, Foxymoron. Second was around Schbang.
Right.
And then now with Level SuperMind. So these are like markers in life,
Sure.
which have, they often shape most of the, your working time is spent building your companies.
Very true.
So
And entrepreneurship is tough, right? I mean, there's no 9 to 5. You're just like
it's
constantly
tough, yeah.
thinking about it and you're on it. It's your life for those 6, 7, 8 years or whatever number of years that you're doing it. Coming back to why it's a full-time job, because from being the PM to the CEO, plus also investing in the employees, because they are your responsibility now. It doesn't matter how old you are. I had 35 employees at that time, and I still remember one of the guys, he was maybe 32 and he had a heart attack on a client site, and I'm like 24 trying to deal with that and trying to call and negotiate. So these are things which I think in a way I look back and feel like they strengthened me as a person,
Yeah.
because I was able to deal with that crisis and learn something from it. But in general, I think entrepreneurship is very different. I've heard you talk a lot about purpose, and I know it's something which is dynamic and it keeps changing. But I still, again, the reason I always talk about the process, because I think that's what people can take as actionables. Otherwise it becomes a very theoretical conversation. So, how have you at different times in your life sort of recalibrated what is that purpose? Or has it always been fairly consistent the way you think about it?
No, it unravels.
Yeah.
Keeps unraveling, and that's the thing um, with something so heavy like purpose.
Yeah.
It's purpose is a combination of the situation that you've been put in. So like if you're on the tennis court and you're out to put that serve, it's a combination of things that have put you on that tennis court.
True.
So same way you've been put into your scenario, and then you see the the potential of that scenario, and from that comes up your purpose. So, and I think often purpose is like a fuel, right? You need it to be able to do what you do. So once I set up Schbang, and I knew that I had gotten out to independently build Schbang, because I was not interested in selling to a large major company. I mean, we had a very good offer to buy Foxymoron, good price at 25, 26. They had almost a 200 crore valuation that they had given. Not, that's good.
That's damn good.
And money was not like such a big driving factor for me that time. I knew that, but it had come with the riding terms of a 7-year earn out and things like that, so they needed us to stay fixed in that company for 7 years. And I knew that was like almost like the prime of my youth. So I said, I want to get out, build independently, and I want to remain independent.
No, but 1 second, tell me a little bit more about that, because most people will be like, why did you take that decision? I mean, you have good money sitting in there. It's just a matter of 7 years.
Yeah.
Like, help me, because very often I feel money becomes, or at least now is more and more increasingly becoming the guiding factor of making a choice.
I mean, if you look at it from a commercial perspective also, in those 7 years, I went and built out a company which is 3 times the value.
Yeah.
So it's, there's a value to time also.
Sure.
Sure, I could have been a bit smart about it. I could have, I mean, in hindsight, there are a lot of things that I've introspected about things that I could have done to give myself a better exit.
Right.
That's made me a stronger version of me today, because that's pinched me, that's bled me. But I think the point still remains that it was in hindsight the right decision. And so when I got out, I knew that building independently is what I wanted to do. And then, I started to come across various pieces of literature. One of the good books which I read was the TCS story by Mr. Ramodarai, who was the second CEO of TCS, and he's really responsible for the growth in that sense of
Sure.
TCS. And I started thinking about like all the possibilities. There's another good guy. I don't know if I can call him a friend because we're not like really in touch as much. But Gaurav Mishra is a guy who used to write a blog called Gauravanomics, and
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
used to talk about how this digital world is going to have the ability to serve companies anywhere. And that's when I started like really thinking in my head that look, we're serving large Indian companies, we're serving them well, and the place where Indian talent is to get today is that it is culturally exposed to the world. We are the largest
So true.
talent market in the world, culturally exposed to the world. So now you have the ability for an Indian team to actually serve, with respect to the to creativity and the front end of creativity to global markets. So what IT did in the early 2000s is now this is the new IT wave in that sense.
Sure.
So then I started articulating that my purpose is to say from India to the world and the best of the world to India. That was something I was, articulating in 2017 almost. So I was constantly saying that. It caught people's imagination, saying that look, in this industry, in the industry that I run, you have a leader in WPP, which is UK born. You have Omnicom, which is US born. You have Havas, which is French. You have Publicis, which is French. You have Dentsu, which is Japanese. You
Yeah.
have Hakuhodo, which is Japanese. And there is no clear Indian player which is having a stamp in the global market. And that's what I want Schbang to be. That's what I'm building Schbang to be.
Fantastic vision.
So that's like, then that's like a driving fuel to your purpose. And then a lot of your decisions will be based on that. So then I went and opened a company in the UK and I started to serve that market. So now we're now trying to look for opportunities, how we're building the company, make India a very, very strong market. And we have close to 1,200 people here in India serving different cohorts of clients and
Sure.
different pieces of work. So strengthen that to a very, very efficient engine, which is really going deeper. That's the effort that we are making with the work. And then find strong international outposts that can collaborate and then slowly build this company up to the potential that it is. So, and then that becomes one part of the purpose. And I always felt that the other, when I articulated for myself, when I said from India to the world and the best of the world to India, there was a human angle missing because this is like a business angle.
Absolutely.
There is this transactional nature of the services, and I knew that something was missing. And then that's when Level SuperMind fits so nicely into it because it's the exchange of values from across the world.
Sure.
And it's important also because I think, especially with respect to the practice of meditation,
Yeah.
India is really the seat and the heart of where the practice evolved. Even a lot of Buddhist practices, or there are various meditative practices which all originate from India.
Yes.
So in this modern world where the rest of the world has problems, stress, anxiety, really finding purpose, then how can we build a platform where people can come and just use it as their daily practice platform?
Sure.
So that's where that is going, and then that makes it a bit more complete.
Sure.
And that opens up the doorway then to do, hopefully in the next few years, more business around other avenues.
Yeah.
That's how I'm trying to build myself, so that purpose then keeps adding. I don't know, I've given a long-winded answer, but it's like...
No, but the other question that I want to ask you on that is, very often as an entrepreneur, uh, the purpose of the company also becomes your own purpose in very many ways, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's synonymous.
Yeah.
But I also want to understand, like, where are you in your head with what is your purpose in the bigger scheme of things, and how are you using these legs of...
I see it as like the companies are extended arms of myself, and like sitting at the center of it, I'm driving the purpose.
Sure.
I'm driving the vision. So it's not like I see it
any different.
Yeah. And if it's, and the more I've realized, because that is where I'm spending my life and my time.
Sure.
So for me, and it need not be your company, it could be like the role that you're doing right now, or anything that you're spending time doing right now, those are all extended arms of
who you are. Sure.
So, and what I've realized is if the companies start doing anything which is not aligning with the vision, then it's bound to not succeed.
Yeah.
So I try to put a lot of focus and effort on that, and the purpose that the companies are out to fulfill is actually my purpose.
I understand. And so then tell me, typical agency, I know I'm going to be very stereotyping here, but when I think of an agency life, I think of like Don Draper of Mad Men, right? Like drinking, smoking, stressed, ruthless, and it's a difficult work environment, right? And I see that you're extremely successful in that. And then there's this completely different side of you. We're talking about inner journey and empathy and kindness. And so, how have you
So I'm
tried
one
to
of the boring
integrate that?
people in my industry because
Okay.
see, the image that you have is the
Yeah,
image that I want to change.
yeah. That's what I want to ask you.
That is, the image that you have is the image that I want to change. It's not going to be overnight.
Sure.
Um, I so advertising, has always been this journey where you step out for a smoke to brainstorm, or you get high to really imagine an idea. And a lot of those are tales that are kind of told.
And spinned, and then it's word of mouth, and it keeps becoming reality.
Yeah, yeah. I think in today's world, people want to work in organizations that allow them the opportunity to maximize what they want to do. And
Sure.
while I speak about it, saying that okay, a lot of the vision is manifested to the companies. Actually, all the people who work in the companies are co-conspirators on that vision.
Sure.
So the reason they are there is because somewhere, some part of that vision also resonates with them.
Yeah.
So I think this whole image that the advertising industry has of dopey guys who are always drinking, it's an old boys club. A lot of that is changing,
Sure.
and not just changing, but it's changing vehemently and changing fast. So much so that, like for example, in my company, we don't have any drinking parties. We don't allow alcohol in the premises. We don't, we don't encourage it in the premises. Yes, teams.
My kind of place.
Yeah, teams may want to get out and do it themselves, but it's something that we don't encourage inside the workplace. And I've spoken about this on, we have a company podcast. I've spoken about this quite clearly there, that I don't think you need to get high to get ideas. You need to be able to, and there's different kinds of people that are there. There's the right brain and the left brain, and you basically need to cultivate your mindset to be able to see, observe. And why companies are hiring us is because we are partners in growth.
Yeah.
One is we are partners in growth, which is the effectiveness part of advertising, and then there's the creative part of advertising, which is we basically infuse into the bloodstream of companies. Actually, we infuse creativity. Even the industry has changed because it's
Sure.
not just about writing ads now.
Yeah.
Now it's about, it's a combination of all this. It's demanding a lot more from you.
Very true.
So hopefully this is in a few years.
No, for sure. But tell me that, are the cultural tenets a little bit different at Schbang because you have this other side of you where you're really focused on meditation? Like one of them, like you said, is around, any sort of using any substances, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's alcohol or anything else. You have a strong view on that and you want to execute and implement that in your culture. But is there anything else that you feel you've borrowed from your meditative practice or from what you've done or you are doing at Level SuperMind, right? And has that in any way also seeped in? Because it's bound to, since there's a common leader.
I think
it's
both
bound to
they
feed into each other.
Like, for example, one of the things that we've always held strong as a practice inside Schbang is also the idea of being knit into community. So we have a arm of ours called Schbang for Good, which only basically goes out and does good.
Yeah.
So now with the kind of CSR mandates, etc., also that we have, we need to make sure that one is the compliance part.
Sure. But one is something that you feel
But
like doing.
second is that there we realize that if we are going to have this vision saying that we are going to be the Indian company that goes all over the world in this field, we need to be able to give back to Indian society at the grassroots. So
Amazing.
what happens is that you'll typically, so there are basically 3 areas of our work. One is at the school infrastructure level. So there's tons of work that we've done, either build toilets or refurbish schools, or last year we had a well which was found in one of the school's playgrounds. They had a huge water problem.
Oh.
So it was a orphanage meets school where kids of parents who abandoned their kids or who passed away are staying there. Water was a huge issue. So we built about 6 toilets there. We got a well dug there. We have a computer lab that we are running, and
That's
was
amazing.
about 8 schools that we were doing last year. Now it's 15 schools. In addition to that, we're also running a program where across, so we partner with Teach for India, where the kids who are strong in their 10th grades, give them scholarship for creative and for technology so that they are accelerated. So again, so the linkage is, let the base be strong. The ones who are smartest at the 10th, let them enter the industry. And then the third bit, which we are now starting to do on 22nd July, we have the first big program of it. We all 40 schools for their teachers to be upskilled. So
Fantastic.
people like you who could come and speak to the teachers. But I mean, it's a structured program, and
Sure.
people like you become the cherry on top, like where you have your because they are the ones who are dealing with maximum number of kids.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm running out of money on doing stuff in schools. I mean, like small things, last year we also had one of the schools where the top floor of the school, the kids are holding the hand, but the fan is right there. So they wanted the roof to be increased.
Yeah,
so we
of course.
spent to increase that. So things like that, which we are doing.
No, but you're saying all of this so easily. This is like an immense amount of work and work that you're giving back, which you don't need to, but you're still investing that time to give back to society and creating future leaders.
So it's not like about, honestly, it's not about giving back. Sometimes beyond a point, you'll see the interconnectedness that is.
And that's
there
okay.
in
That's
these
part
whole
of
things.
business. But
Yeah.
you're still doing it. I mean, I'm sure others can see the interconnectedness, and yet they choose to look away and just focus on other things.
No,
So,
and I want to become damn rich because of this, so that I can do more.
Yeah.
Like I have a serious frustration,
And I hope
that
you do.
I'm
I
not
hope you
able to
do.
do enough.
Yeah.
The one thing I do make it a point to make sure that I am personally doing is go on ground and visit to see every center where we are putting money. Because it's not about writing the check. It's really about understanding the ground reality of what is there. And
Yeah.
there's some things I may not be able to say here, but certain things are also not right in the
System.
the grassroots level. So
yes. I agree with you.
so that is where the effort is, but then you have to keep going on. And then same way, so now if you're talking about the values that exchange, this whole, the way the programs are running. So in Level SuperMind, we have a team which goes out to the same schools and starts to teach the kids meditation. And so we expose them. In fact, one of the amazing things we did this in a school. We did a 7-day program in a school where the school was kind to give us the same place every morning. So our team went in, basically the program is a combination of things. We talk a little bit about the mind and how the mind is structured.
Sure.
And how your mind works.
Okay.
So the fact that you can increase your focus, you can increase your memories. These are the centers of your mind which hold this.
Yeah.
Then there's a bit of breath work.
And how old are these kids typically?
So they'll be in 8th, 9th, 10th.
Acha. Okay.
Typically we do 8th, 9th, 10th.
Makes sense.
Because that's the age where you can really be exposed to it.
Sure.
And I had my first exposure to meditation in school. And I still remember that experience. So I was like, if kids can experience that for the first time in a good quality way, then that is a higher chance for them to
stick around.
Stick it as a practice, later somewhere or the other you'll come back to that, because you can the practice may go, but the feeling never goes away. So the first time the feeling that comes is that feeling that I want to remember this feeling. So
and I want to keep feeling it again. And how do I do that? How do it becomes almost that bliss becomes addictive, right?
Or even in a moment of adversity, if the practice has left you, you may just come back to that instead of something else.
So true.
So that's what we started. So there's a little bit of this functional part of this is how the brain works. There's a bit of breath work, and then we have carry a big speaker to the schools, where then we play our guided meditations in the schools.
Right.
And so then that, because those have been done in a quality way, so just the experience is much better than somebody guiding in person. So that's how the program is for 7 days. There was this one girl who at the end of 7 days, she came up and
Okay.
she had this fear of anxiety of public speaking. And she said that I'm getting now the confidence because of the effort you guys have put in to us on the 7 days. I'm getting the confidence I want to speak. So she
Fantastic.
got up, spoke to the whole class for the first time, got her ovation. Everybody loved it. So it was one of those moments that gives the motivation to keep doing this.
Yeah.
So that is how.
I mean, those are the moments you live for, right? And do what you do. I mean, I think something like that will keep you going for a few years, I'm sure. And even the team who was there who experienced this, for sure.
And all credit too, because it's not easy for the team. These are guys who have their day job. They are either in product engineering, or they are in app content or notifications, or they're building, different parts of the product.
Sure.
So these guys going in every morning, teaching, and then coming to the office, it's strenuous.
No, for sure, for sure.
Now we are structuring the program also in a better way, because now we see the power of now doing this in schools throughout. So we're trying to work with the government to see, allow us into more schools.
Yeah.
And let us do this. So that's...
Oh, that's fantastic. So tell me a little bit. You said that the first time you got exposed to meditation was in school.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. And then I know that you've been on this exploratory journey where you've tried various kinds of meditation. So, just name a few. Tell me what you did. How did you feel? What were the highlights for you?
Yeah.
Because anyone who's wanting to begin this journey, I think very often the question is like, I know I need to meditate. Especially, I think post-COVID, most people have realized they need to do some sort of practice they need to fall back on.
Yeah.
But very often the question is, but how? Which one is good for me? Things like that. And I think you've done a little bit of that work, and I want to sort of dip into that learning of yours.
So after school, I didn't meditate. I just that feeling stayed with me that it was nice.
Sure.
But I came back to meditation somewhere in 2018. So it was not like it's always been a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very instrumental for me to be able to get over my, I had a drug problem, and it was instrumental for me to get over my drug problem. But it's, there was a bit of a, so I think what happens is that you have this process you're talking about, Atmagyan, or knowing yourself, right? I was working with a coach of mine, Coach Saloni Suri, and she was doing a group session with my teams.
Right.
And that's actually in that group session, it's typically in those moments where you're really shutting everything down, observing yourself. That's when my vision of India to the world also came in that session. And we did a lot of these tests. So I then invited her to do the same session in Bangalore.
Right.
I did it in Bombay first, and I then invited her to do it in Bangalore. And then I had been trying to get out of smoking. I needed a joint to sleep every night. Basically, I would smoke a joint every night and then go to sleep. For about 2 to 3 years, I was like, every day I want to get out of it. But I wasn't able to get out of it. That's the thing with an addiction, that it always keeps you in. So I would read these different papers about what it's doing to my mind, what it's doing to my physical health. But while I was reading that, then in the night, the joint was always there.
But tell me, what got you into it? What were you trying to get out of to get into smoking a joint?
So I did think about that now, what I was actually running away from the stress of my work. I was running away from, I said I left my partnership.
Yeah.
I was running away from the inability of that partnership to really, nurture me. A lot of what I was doing in my first company, I was actually one of the promoters, but I was the, Kolu ka bail, if you may.
Acha,
So,
I understand.
I was, we had social media marketing, we had video editing, we had SEO, we had media planning and buying, we had tech, and we had, basically these. And I was running,
ye bhi bahut hai.
I was running 4 out of these 5.
Wow.
And I was basically front-facing all the clients, and I was front-facing most of the teams. And
So you were just overwhelmed, and
I was
too much
overwhelmed,
going on.
and I didn't feel like I was getting my due, and I wasn't able to confront that I'm not getting my due. Rather, I went into something else.
Sure.
So and that's what happens typically as a psychological process, right? Like, and if you're I wasn't, traditionally not very good with confrontation.
Yeah.
Now I've got more, understanding that blind side, and now I think I'm quite competent to handle confrontation.
Sure.
So I was running away from not wanting to confront. I was running away from that, and then that's when I went into a drug. Yeah, I mean, there was the functional aspects of that. Oh, your food will taste better, and food was also in a way a distraction from that. It was like, often they say that if you're constantly wanting to eat sweet stuff, or you're constantly wanting to fill yourself with junk, it's, you're at a psychosomatic level, you're fortifying your body with fat.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot coming at you,
Absolutely.
and you are
I mean, different people have different defense mechanisms, right? Like you said, some people do binge eating, some people, tend to smoke up. And then you have the other side, like, somebody like me who will be like, okay, instead, if I'm really stressed, instead of running 5 kilometers, I'll do 8 today because I need to get that adrenaline out of my system.
Yeah.
No, I totally understand. But again, tell me more about, you got out of that addiction, and meditation helped you.
Yeah, because
do
it
that.
was one, I actually opened up to Saloni Suri, and I said to her that, I've not spoken to too many people about this, but I have a drug problem.
Yeah.
And then she asked me a few questions, and then she said, basically, you are constantly getting high because you're not high enough on your own life. Was her diagnosis.
Sure.
Now, and then she said, okay, just, just think about what I'm saying. And she gave me this app, Meditate Me,
Okay.
which is a bunch of good meditations by Kelly Howell. She's a theta healing based meditation.
I understand.
So I did that for the first time. I'd been trying to do Headspace for I used to do those 2-minute, 5-minute meditations. I would not hold my focus. That conversation, I held my focus for 30 minutes. That night, I gave it up overnight. So after that, I haven't touched it.
What a story. Amazing.
So it was, I guess it was for me, a little bit of that messaging, going into my subconscious and traveling faster because of that meditation that I did. I think it did that. So I knew that it had an impact on my life to be able to get over that. Then it became a daily practice. And then as it became a daily practice, between 2018 to 2020, it was something I did vehemently. So you'd follow the run up with a meditation, you'd follow the workout up with a meditation, and it became almost like a part of my routine. And I started seeing the impact of it on my work. Because I was suddenly, I was a bit like your first guest,
Yeah, Madhur. Yeah.
Like Madhur, I was
a motor mouth.
I was not motor mouthing that much. I was being
okay.
more purposeful with my words.
Ah.
Stress wasn't as stressful anymore. I was able to see longer. Then, of course, COVID came, and you had, for me, it was a challenging time because for our company, there was a 75% drop in billing in between March and April.
Tough stuff, yeah.
Tough stuff. You have to decide whether you want to lay people off or you want to continue going. And that's when I saw the resilience also being able to develop, because I wasn't thinking about, hey, let's cut this. I actually went and I was finding stuff about companies that had outlasted difficult periods. And so one instrumental talk I saw was of Azim Premji and Wipro, and how, his compounded growth rate over so many years with compounded efficiencies coming every year led them to become a multi-billion-dollar business.
Yeah.
So I actually then put it down on paper. I put my Excel out. I said, look, if we continue to grow at this percentage, in 8 years, we'll be $1 billion company.
Oh, wow.
8 years, 10 years, depending on how the growth rate structure. But then I said that, okay, my 300 is what compared to where I want to be.
Yeah, at least you have a goalpost. I mean, you.
Yeah. So that gave the resilience, saying that, okay, we will fight through this. We grew through the COVID period. Between 2020 to 2023, we grew 4 times. So, we continue to emphasize growth. I learned a lot as an individual. And that's when I also, that's when I went around that same period on my first podcast with Ranveer.
Okay.
So I went on the Ranveer show for the first time when it was just a new podcast, and it blew up. Like it was 5 lakh views on a podcast of a guy, the kind running the company
Okay,
like
I'm
mine.
manifesting here. Yeah,
So,
sure.
and Ranveer and I had just reconnected. Ranveer was really vehemently going into his meditation practice. We bonded over the fact that that's something that's really helping the both of us.
Sure.
We said that we should start, there's something for us to build together. And then both of us drew the line saying that, look, this is really something that we could build together.
Okay.
And then we started building. So that's when we gave birth to Level SuperMind, and then came along Aayush, who's our third co-founder on Level SuperMind. He comes from a technology background. He's
Right.
he's from IIT Madras, and he's got more of a engineering mindset. So that's when we started building the product, and it came into shape. But somewhere along the journey, then it was fantastic because I got to experiment so much. My curiosity in what was already helping me grew, exponentially. So, the two, three things I can speak about which have been very interesting and enriching to view. One is there's a fantastic book called The Science of Meditation by Daniel Goleman and Richard Davidson.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic book because it really puts together all the literature on the the different various experiments and research papers that have been peer reviewed and done in the field of meditation. And what it's really distilling is that within 2 weeks of a meditation practice, regular meditation practice, you will be able to see reduce signs of stress. 2 years, you will see heightened focus.
Yeah.
And if you go beyond a period of, there's a number of hours, I can't remember the exact number of hours, but it was roughly about 7 years of a regular meditation practice, you will start seeing altered traits through neuroplasticity. So you will basically be able to grow your mind beyond what it is.
Yeah.
And, so that was really one piece of work, which was that, hey, we need to do more peer-reviewed stuff like this in India. So we started doing a bit of that.
Okay.
So we partnered with this company, Newfany, which is making the EEG headsets to
Right.
start looking at, what is the effect of a
And
regular
the waves.
what is the effect of a regular meditation practice on people's minds?
Sure.
So that was one instrumental piece. The second is that as we started talking about meditation, we realized that look, actually there are so many schools of meditation and so many ways.
Yes.
So you have what is in the West traditionally the mindfulness school, which is derived a lot from Buddhism. So it is what your traditional guided meditation practice of watch your breath, and
Be aware, be present.
be present. So that's a lot of the mindfulness school. There is a school around visualization. So, you've got mindfulness, which is around your breath. There is visualization and mindfulness. Sorry, before I go to visualization, mindfulness is, a lot of the Vipassana school is derived from mindfulness.
I was just
Or,
gonna say.
you have a lot of the practices that Art of Living has is also, a lot of it is around breath observation. Yes, actually on a lot of schools are a combination. Vipassana is pure breath.
Sure.
And scan. Then you have visualization, which is, you mentioned the word manifestation. A lot of it is around visualization. So what you see as popular culture meditation is a combination often of mindfulness and visualization, because you'll have a practice which will have you watching your breath and then visualizing you at a certain spot or a certain place, visualizing your life a certain way. Even if you see Master Choksui around pranic healing, if he talks about the twin heart healing meditation, which is a very famous global meditation around you getting up
Correct.
across and seeing, yourself detached from the world. And,
Yeah.
that visualization is, again, a very powerful tool in meditation. Third is around heart. So like people observe the breath, you have the observation of the heart. But it's about really finding the anchor where you can observe.
Yes.
And the fourth is around mantra and chanting, and either chanting or just listening to the chant. So a lot of these is actually about having your mind have a single pointed focus.
Yeah.
So whether that focus is the mantra, or whether that focus is your breath, or the focus is your heart, or the focus is what you're visualizing.
Sure.
And most meditation practices have a combination of these
To get you what you're looking
to get
for
you
in
what you're
terms of
looking for.
peace, calm, whatever else,
Yeah,
whatever
and to
outcome.
get your mind to focus on this one point, because the
Yeah.
moment your mind starts focusing on these, that one single pointed focus,
Yeah.
what you start seeing is you start seeing then neurologically you start seeing reduced signs of secretion of the stress hormone. You
Right.
start seeing more of your fluctuation to stimuli reducing.
Yes.
And that is what a combination of these schools are doing. So what we are building at Level Supermind is the ability to bring all of these paths in one place. And so therefore, how do you begin? What we've done is, on the app there's a fantastic intro series,
Okay.
which is available in English, Hindi, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, Gujarati, Bengali. So
Wow.
we've realized that
So you're just democratizing this concept of meditation. Everyone
Yeah.
should come in. Yeah, doesn't matter. Language shouldn't be a barrier.
language shouldn't be a barrier. We've made it a bit more modern, contemporary to today's times in the way the delivery is done.
Sure.
In the way in the way it's a very pleasurable experience. So we built one intro series like that, which is the base, which actually exposes you to variety of these styles.
Okay.
And then you can take your different paths on the app.
Understood.
And then we have, so we have some fantastic collaborators who are working with us on the app. I was telling you about Om Dhumatkar, who's done the Om chanting series, and
Yes.
and he's also a Vedic scholar, so he's done the Om chanting series, which is
What a combination.
which is one fantastic series. I was hoping that if we had a little time, we could do that intro series.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Why
it's-
not? And I think the few things that you said that really appealed to me, because I do my own meditative practice, and that is really anchored in the heart. So when you spoke about how it's anchored in the heart, that's what we do, which is a lot about suggestion and just bringing your mind to your heart region.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's anchoring there, but the only difference being that in English we say meditation is about focusing on one object, but if you think about it in our Sanskrit or in Raja Yoga, dhyana is all about transcending the mind.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's not focus, but it's more around regulation.
Yeah.
And moving from thinking to feeling.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of what heartfulness meditation is a lot about.
And that's the other part also. So the reason why we are, trying to have all the various styles is because if you don't like one style, there's another.
I love
Because
that.
each one has their own, some people might really connect with the mantra chanting. Some
Yeah.
people might connect with mindfulness. Some people might connect with a visualization. So that is what we are really consistently building. And we speak to a lot of consumers to be able to understand that.
Sure.
Where is the signals coming from, and that's how we are building the app. The heart that you spoke about, also so interesting, is that the Buddhist practices around compassion are also really focused on the heart.
Yes.
The Sufi practices of meditation are also focused on the heart.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the more we are doing work around this, we are seeing the commonalities across the various scriptural pursuits across the world, and how there are so many commonalities around this. Very, very interesting. It's very enriching to be a part of it, actually.
I can imagine.
And that's why starting this journey to build this, investing the time, energy, effort, money to put into building this and be able to create a product that the world will enjoy eventually, is immensely satisfying because of that. What started out as a hobby to get over my joint, is here. So I can't be more
And
grateful.
doing good for the world. Yeah, doing good for the world. Absolutely. No, I think, you put it so simply, but I find that this can really change the direction of people's lives. And that's also one of the reasons, why I'm also doing this podcast. And like I'm completely bought into what you're doing at Level Supermind, because I truly believe that the inner journey is the one that is going to hold you in good stead. I think one of the things I've started to say a lot of, and it's come to me naturally, which is the one relationship that you can invest in, which you are never going to be disappointed about, is the one with yourself. And I think for me, that became as clear as day through COVID. And I think a lot of people got that time during COVID to do that thinking, to do that recalibration. But coming back, and even in heartfulness, I just want to say one more thing. When you spoke about experimentation, right? I think my the heartfulness global guide Kamlesh Patel, he always says in heartfulness or any sort of meditation practice, you are the experimenter and you are the experiment as well. So to your point about you're giving people the exposure to choose the path that they want, I think the only thing we say is at least commit to one path for some time and see the difference, and don't do it for some time, right? And then you feel the difference. The weeks I meditate and the weeks I don't meditate, I know I'm a completely different version.
Absolutely.
And when I see that not so nice version of Pragya coming out, I'm like, no, 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 no. I need to come back. I need to connect again. I need to feel that anchor and that grounding that my meditation practice gives me.
There are certain connotations to meditation कि ये लोग बाबा लोग हैं, धार्मिक लोग हैं ज़्यादा. I've also heard कि ये boring है, ये अमीरों के चोचले है, all of that.
Correct.
Because when we started, we tried to take some advice. So somebody said अमीरों के चोचले. I was like, ये actually अमीरों के चोचले नहीं है, सबके.
ये existential है boss.
Everybody can do it no matter where you are, because it's about maximizing yourself where you are and then going up. So what we are trying to do is our stated mission, and that's over the next few months. Our main work is to, it's interesting you spoke about the Dawn Draper, because our mission is to actually change the image now of meditation.
Yeah.
To make it young, cool, Gen Z, it has to be, desirable. So now that's where now the design will start coming in. So we are starting to work on a whole new redesign of it.
No, you're so right. I mean, why I want to interrupt you here is because, you just think about, go back, and I think a lot of the Bay Area culture is around that, right? Where they've suddenly made it a cool quotient to, I don't do meetings in the office. I go for hikes. And now suddenly everyone around the world is hiking, right? Or, you have Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs talk about, I came down to India, I meditated, and that's how I found what I need to do at Apple. Or for Mark, when I was at Facebook, it was I was at WhatsApp, but a lot of the conversations were around how when he didn't know what to do next, he came down to India, meditated, and then he found what he wanted to do next. And when we hear it from there, it's, we feel like now we want to do it. And so I completely agree that how can we make it like it is in the Bay Area, where the cool quotient is you're not drinking, you're not smoking, you're sleeping early, you're waking up early, and you're actually prioritizing your body,
and a lot
mind,
of it is
and
also
soul.
about image and imagery. I think we have to also be able to derive from, things like industries like alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're doing a marketing job. So you have to be shameless about the fact that, look, I mean, there is a liquid which is actually not so good for you.
Correct.
Which is packaged as the most desirable thing out there. So they've really done a very good job selling themselves. That is what we need to really now start to derive from. What's the visual language of it going to look like? What is it going to, how do you make it look very appealing and sexy?
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to really dig deep and go into my marketing background to dig into that, because that's the next
I
phase
love
in this
that.
mission. So when you talk about the interconnectedness, kind of comes in place. So that, and then it really ties into this whole, what is it that India can offer to the world? I think this is one of the things. It's a shame that we don't have a de facto global meditation platform which is run out of India. So it's not a household name, not run out of India. So, over the next few years, we will be that.
No, amazing. That I absolutely love the vision that you have. And I think, whatever it takes to support it, like, I think we all should get together and do that. It's only going to get bigger and better. And I think as meditators, we understand that there isn't just one top position. There never is. I think our approach always, or at least my approach, is that it's not about competition, but it's about collaboration. And let's find a way to grow the pie. I mean, there's so much for all of us in this space. So why think of only one top spot? But tell me a little bit more about, firstly, I loved the fact that you're in regional languages, because I'll tell you.
We say local, sorry.
Sorry, local. Indic languages. No, absolutely. And I'll tell you why, because, we all have a voice in our head and we all speak in that language, right? So, fortunately or unfortunately, I have grown up learning English. So that is the language I speak to myself in. but the majority of India is speaking in that first language to themselves.
Exactly.
And if you are able to give them that guided meditation in that language,
Really connects.
boom, like you don't need to do much more, because can you imagine somebody is like first struggling to translate and then figure out, अच्छा meditation is tough enough, ऊपर से आप अंग्रेजी में और दे दो,
Correct.
तो मतलब हो गया, I'm not going to do it.
So I'll tell you a little bit of what we have on the app. We have meditation. We have a mind section which has which has focus music and which has breath work.
Sure.
So that's the mind section. We have a body section which has variety of workouts.
Okay.
So you have a series on introduction to yoga and then going deeper into yoga. You also have HIIT and you have some freehand related exercises.
Okay.
So that's the second section of the app. The third is we've got a sleep section.
Okay.
Sleep is a big problem for Gen Z.
Oh,
It's
really?
a challenge that they want to overcome. So there we have, the traditional storytelling format for sleep built in a way to help you sleep.
Okay.
It's almost like, there's a lot of research around what you feed your mind before you go to sleep is, in the sleep state, your mind is actually ruminating on that. So we're talking about calling it feed your mind with wisdom before you sleep. So that's the story section. And then we also have Yog Nidra inspired as well as specific Yog Nidra practices in the sleep section.
Oh, I love that.
And then the fourth section that we have is a journaling section. So there's like the intention, reflection, gratitude journaling. And then there is some special journals which you could do on your birthday or, the new year, life's big questions or like my year ahead, things like that.
Oh, so you use them as in some way probing questions so that
Absolutely.
people can actually think about those things.
Yeah, the
I
slam
really
book
like that.
of life. If you
Okay.
may.
Yeah, yeah.
So these are the core sections of the app, and it's tied in with this whole gamification layer. You can see yourself on your leaderboard. We have an interesting group meditation feature also.
Okay.
So like one of the first things we had said when we started is like we want to make it as cool and as accessible as having a glass of wine together. So we built a group meditation feature where I'm listening to this, I can just send the link to Pragyaan and we meditate together.
Yeah.
And also there's a power to shared circles. So right now, meditation is by far the most used, feature on the app. Our introduction to meditation series is the most used series.
Because most people must be first-time seekers,
in
no?
Hindi.
They're like figuring out.
Hindi language is the first most used introduction to meditation.
Okay.
And then we have our users, as we call them, and speak to them. We understand that once they start, they want to keep going deeper. So it's interesting because we are now taking all the various life-oriented triggers to build practices around at one end. And the second is we are going deeper at a scriptural level to go into
the knowledge of it.
Knowledge practices, knowledge-led meditation practices.
Yeah.
So Palga Rinpoche has done an intro to meditation. And, in Buddhism, typically meditation, as you go across, it starts with gratitude, going into compassion, going into interconnectedness. And then there's various mantras which you can also chant. So he's done a visualization mixed with a mantra meditation practice. So it's very interesting actually. Now we're just having so much fun just merging all of these and working with the creators to build something very, very, where we are pushing the limits on the way meditation is created. So it's now...
And perceived and practiced. And I think you're also giving the whole buffet in a way, right? You're like, here is what the world looks like.
Yeah.
And now you figure out what you really like and then keep going deeper into it.
Yeah. And, just to add to that, the comment you made about, see, we are not an alternative to the large schools. I think where we see ourselves is we will bring you to the door of that school.
Yeah.
So you sample, you learn, you enjoy, you feel that it's the right. What we want is to bring more people in.
Yeah.
May go to more people into the path. And then somebody may go to ISKCON, somebody may go to Sadhguru, somebody may go to Heartfulness, somebody may go to Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, somebody may just continue their own practice by themselves.
That's amazing too.
That's amazing too.
Yeah.
And one more thing that we've started doing, when I said by themselves, we started building a lot of unguided meditations. So based on, there's sound based, theta based meditations where each sound frequency can resonate at
Yes.
certain, and even if you may call it a placebo, there's a combination. Some of it is that, but some of it is also the frequency resonating to work with different parts of your body to unlock, certain things that are blocked, which
Yeah.
are unguided meditations, which just start you off and then you meditate for that 30 minutes. So the meditation, that unguided meditation, is effectively your marker to finish your 30 minutes or your
Well-
60 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, no, I love that because I think even in heartfulness meditation, we've also done some research. We have a heartfulness institute which does a lot of research around meditation, and you're absolutely right. The deep sleep waves and deep meditation, which is the theta waves, are the same. So very often when people meditate with us at heartfulness, you're sitting like this and you're meditating, and they come out of the meditation and they're like, "Oh, I think I'd gone to sleep." And I'm like, no, you didn't go into sleep. You were actually in deep meditation, because there's nobody who can sit like this and sleep, right? Like you. And the other indicator is that when you finish the meditation, usually people come out of it feeling refreshed. They're energized. They want to go out and do more. Whereas when you wake up from deep sleep, that's not how you wake up. You're groggy. It takes you 15, 20 minutes to get your alignment. You want some coffee to wake you up. So, and they're able to experience that theta very, very early in the meditative practice, and which is why I think people want to come back, do it, and try it. And it's very simple,
Yeah.
integrative practice. But I think the work that you're doing and the knowledge that you have just shared around meditation is huge, and I love how it's so integrated and it's so, I would say, holistic in the way that you want to be that gateway. You don't want to be the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure that
So nicely
you
put.
open
Yeah.
that you just open up the doors for just the value that meditation and the inner journey brings to you, which path
No,
or
you also
or
made
the-
another interesting comment. So why we called ourselves Supermind?
Hmm.
Because if you see globally, the whole global perception of meditation as an unlocker
yeah,
of success as opposed to a downer of stress is what we wanted to be against. So they
completely
were
agree
slightly
with
against
you.
the grain from a positioning perspective also.
And you should be, right? Because it's not like I should start meditation if I have a failed relationship, or if I have become bankrupt, or if I have been just literally life has shoved me in.
Yeah.
Is not when I should be finding the meditative practice. It should be because, like you very rightly pointed out, I want to become a better version of myself. Because guess what? That struggle will come. But because I'm meditating, I'll just be better placed to deal with that
Yeah.
struggle and maybe unlock that learning or that opportunity that struggle is trying to teach me.
Yeah.
Because if you're not meditating, all you're going to be is in that loop of why me, मेरे साथ क्यों हुआ, ये ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए था, keep talking about that and just lose out that bigger picture of, hey, this is what life is trying to teach you.
Yeah.
And can you sort of make lemonade out of this and move on? So I love this.
Where we are seeing it from now is that, we have gone back to scripture. So there's Arthi, Artharthi, Jigyasa and Bhakta. So there are four, and we are not discriminating against any. So we are saying some people are coming, relationship heartbreak, to bhi aao.
Sure.
So yes, there is this bigger purpose, and you probably on the more evolved scale. So you can say this quite eloquently. But where we are seeing is, because we are seeing ourselves as a gateway, we are seeing that, look, you could be somebody who wants to come because you've had a heartbreak.
Yeah.
Because you're facing stress, you have your exams coming up and you want a relief. You could be that.
Sure.
You could be somebody who's coming saying, look, I want to get better at my job and I want more focus in my mind and I want to be able to ace and I want to be smarter than the other guy in the room.
Yes.
Okay, so you come for that also.
Yeah.
If you want, you could be somebody who comes to say, I want to discover myself.
Yeah.
And you could be somebody who says, I may want to come to transcend. Now, we don't have the license or the ability yet to be able to say, look, the ones who want to transcend come to this platform, because that is where, there are better people than us. And I can say that quite openly, because we are not good at that. I mean, we will derive from people who are very good at it and have some of that on the platform. But we are quite open to say, all seekers of all styles who want to basically work on their mind to be able to maximize their mind, this is the platform for that.
No matter what the trigger outside is, as long as that's my mantra always, no matter what happened outside of you, the point is if meditation is what you're using to cope with it, man, you're on the right track. Because, and I'm not saying that because I do it, but that's what I've seen around me. And a lot of people who've come on this podcast have also shared that, the value that you get out of connecting with your inner self is tremendous. Rumi also said, what you
Seek is always
seek.
seeking you. Is also
That-
seeking you.
Yes, that, and also that, you're seeking for the wonders outside when all of them lie within you. And so can we just find a way to explore that
Yeah.
inner journey?
What we have also coming up on the app is we have the Divine Wisdom of Rumi, his compilation
Oh,
of his
I
best
love his
quotes
poetry, yeah, and his
and
quotes.
his poems to be put together as almost in, so because we have a wisdom section coming with
Sure.
with Kesha Swami Maharaj doing the Gita, so then we have the quotes from Rumi, and we have also you mentioned Raj Yoga, so we have Swami Vivekanand's
Okay.
thoughts also recited and narrated, just stuff that you can play back.
Oh, I
and
love
listen.
that.
So now we are just trying to find how else can we add more value.
I heard you say something around, what is the sign of an integrated character or integrated human being is around the character being closer to the feeling that you have in the inner self, right? And how character is just what shows up externally, how I manifest my values. But at the end of the day, the more synchronized I am with my inner and outer self, that is when I bring out the authentic self, so to say. And that is when I'm also able to make the right choices, because then I'm listening to that intuition and listening to that voice that is telling me, do this over that. And if I am in that state of flow where I am in the right place where the world wants me to do this, guess what? Like, that is about being at the right place at the right time. And that happens when you listen to your inner voice.
As Rumi says, appear as you are, be as you appear.
Yeah. And sounds so simple. And yet there are so many layers of our persona and character and all of that we keep. Because fundamentally, I think we all have the same needs. We're all the same human beings. I remember we were talking about that earlier as well. And I think for me, COVID really changed that for me. And, I really want to understand if COVID changed particularly anything else for you, shifted anything for you. I would love to know that. Just being in lockdown, right? Apart from, of
Yeah.
course, starting Level SuperMind, but for you as Harshil in your personal journey.
I had some changes in my personal life. So I used to be married. I stopped being married. That was a big change. So that itself over the last 3 years has been a quite an introspective journey. And and then with that comes I guess over the last 3 years I've also understood and dwelled on and delved into various also practices with respect to psychology and therapy,
Yeah.
because I had to do a lot of work on myself to be able to understand what was going on with me. My meditation practice has deepened significantly. I've gotten exposure to so many different meditation practices as a result. And then that's a circle, right? Like, because you're
Yeah.
there, so I think sometimes as I'm speaking this, I'm like, you're marveling at the fact of the place that life has put you in, because you have
So
the
true.
ability to go deep into these meditative practices. Therefore, you are by default exposed to scripture. Therefore, by default, you are exposed to then really, even actually doing the sadhana around it. You will meet the people around it.
Sure.
And then I think there's a business side to me, which I think is also very, very important, because then you combine all of this, and it's it's allowed you to find a better version of yourself. So I think now I can see what the best version of myself can be. I'm not there yet, but at least I can see it.
I'm so happy for
I'm
you.
just trying to now run towards that, or actually, no, this is also important. I used to think I want to run towards that, but now I'm slowly, patiently walking towards that.
That's a massive shift in belief.
Yeah.
Because I think we are just tuned to feel like we belong or we have a value in this world only if we are doing something. And I think even for me, COVID changed that. I don't have to be like, I don't have to do to be. I can just be, and that's enough. I can just be who I am and let go and surrender and let sometimes life pass me by. I don't have to control and always be active to get to some place. Doing nothing is also doing something, and I think that shift for me was also huge. But, really, thank you for sharing what you did. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to do that, just be very open and
Yeah.
vulnerable. So,
It's the
thank
first
you
time
for
I've spoken
sharing that.
about it. So
No,
outside, I mean, of
I
course, the
feel,
people who are close are, uh, there's a good support circle. But, it's the first time I've been able to speak about it on a podcast. So that's good. So thank you for the environment which makes it comfortable to share.
No, it's I feel absolutely privileged that you did share this with me and that you thought I was able and worthy of you sharing this. So thank you so much for that. I just want to ask you, just tell me, because I know a lot of people went through a lot of relationship challenges. Like, how did meditation truly or your practice truly help you? One or two things that you felt okay, like I can tell you the relationships are like habits, right? Very often where you get used to having somebody around, you get used to doing things in a certain way. Sometimes it's all also about breaking that habit, and then how do you fill that time and space which you had somebody else fill for you. So how did your practice sort of just help you deal with this and make, and how did you give it this positive spin to it, because this is a tough situation to go through.
Um, I think in my case, just with my separation, it mainly gave me um, the resilience to weather through that. Um, and it's, I think that's a long different conversation in itself, because it's because I was attached to my partner. I'm about 36 now. I was attached for 20 years almost. So to have such an important person um, kind of not be a part of your life anymore, it leaves a big hole.
Yeah.
So I think more than anything, what it helped me with it helped me understand myself a lot more. Because when you are you have your life like this, and then one part of your life is pulled out, you have a gaping hole. So then you try to understand, okay, what was I filling up, and then therefore what are these different parts of me that were in a relationship that ultimately I felt was unhealthy.
Yeah.
So what was that, and why was I being unhealthy? That was a lot of the discovery process. And I think therefore for me, combination of therapy and meditation, it's always because therapy is like talking into a mirror, and then you just have somebody patiently listening without reacting and saying, hey, I think you're trying to say this. So that process of knowing yourself, followed by then reflecting on that in stillness, is, I think, helpful.
Yeah. So I also just want to ask you one last question, which is, I of course understand that you are going to be playing, and Level Supermind is going to be playing a very critical role, I think, in defining the meditation culture in India. I just want to understand, where do you see it going, and what are some of the goals that Level Supermind has set to contribute to that growth?
So our goals are, there are three things that we are now really focusing on. One is, we are while we have the app, we have learned from some of the top monasteries and schools in the world that they have a daily walk-in meditation. So we are starting an online version of that, where everybody is welcome to come and try it for the first time. So that's one big initiative that we are focusing on. The second initiative that we are focusing on is, we want to be able to go into more and more schools. So that is the other thing. We want to make sure that as we go about doing this, so one is we want to get as many people join our online classes in the morning, or not class, but like an online open session in the morning. We want to go into as many schools, and we want to
Sure.
continue being in more hands and pockets, all while being sustainable, revenue driven as a company. So, we were on the 1st of January in the health and fitness section of Apple. We were in the top 3 apps. So, and then,
Congratulations.
that was the big bump that we had. We were in the top 10 in the Google Play Store in the
Oh,
health and fitness section. So, we've been bootstrapped and profitable from very early on. That's how, I've always run my businesses, that, you don't really, but then now I think this business will require some push beyond.
steroids. Yeah.
So this 2 million that we go to will give us the license to, get that push. So we'll go out into the market, see what people are willing to back us then. And then we will go to different parts of the world. In India itself, there will be a big role to play to further percolate, because 2 million is nothing in a market like India. And that's what we're going to have to focus on. I think the other thing that we are also really, really, the next 1 year is going to be critical for us on this language of meditation. How do we redefine and make it cool, desirable, and really something that I want to be associated. We take a lot of inspiration. I think it's cliched, but we take a lot of inspiration from Nike, because what Nike did to running in the 60s is what
Yeah.
we have to do to meditation in 2020.
Oh, I
So
love that.
that is our, like goalpost.
Yeah.
And then we see then, where it takes us. But, we're going to put in wholehearted effort and do it honestly and work with as many people as we can along the way.
No, I love that vision, and I think we need it. It is the need of the hour, especially with, you spoke about de-addiction. I think smoking, drinking is one kind of addiction. I think that was back in the earlier generation. I think our generation is dealing with addictions of different kinds, which is around digital
Yeah.
addiction, or gaming, or just being, not taking the right choices, which is good for our health, and looking at quick gratification. So I think something of what you're doing with Level Supermind hopefully will
Yeah.
allow people to be more conscious of the decisions they're taking, and have something to go to when they want to be able to get out of a situation, change a habit, understand what is out there, for them to be better versions of themselves. So, great initiative, but also amazing vision. So, you've truly inspired me with everything that you've shared. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Herschel. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I didn't know there were so many other kinds of meditation out there. So, thank you so much, and I wish you really my deepest, best wishes for the success of Level Supermind. And I'm part of the journey, so just call on me whenever you want anything on heartfulness. Always available, or anything else.
Thank
So
you
I
so
would
much.
love to participate.
Thank you for having me on this. It's been fun.
Yeah, I'm glad. I enjoyed the chat as well. Thank you. Amazing.